Due to the potentially dark and frightening content of our investigations, this episode may not be suitable for younger audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
After years of investigating the paranormal, there are many things that we have learned.
Oh, it's hanging.
Oh my god.
Oh, it's hanging.
We've discovered that leaving a location doesn't necessarily mean the investigation is over.
We'll see how this affects me in the long run, I guess.
Sometimes we uncover new evidence that is too compelling not to share.
He said that was definitely my brother. That was his voice.
With the help of our dedicated viewers, we dig up new information and revisit the places that haunted us the most.
Okay, here I go.
This is Midnight's Light Paranormal, Exhumed.
The haunting on Sulphur Springs was by far our most emotional investigation. It was our second episode. Our first episode introduced us to the paranormal, but this episode gave us depth.
This particular episode, it was emotional for everyone, and so that led us to create some kind of emotional connection with this episode. And I think we do with every episode, but this one in particular was just so personal. It felt so close to home.
Tanya's brother came through really strong to me, and even when I was away from the location, at home, even at work, he was reaching out to me. Right off the bat, I knew it was Rodney, okay? He told me it was him. Now, not all spirits can come through as strong as that, but he wanted to make sure, because he knew his sister, that I did not tell her who it was. And I asked him, I said, well, can you tell me something that will make her understand that it's you? So what he did was he sent me a picture, like a photograph of a sandcastle. And initially when I told her about the castle thing, she didn't have a clue.
Something about a sandcastle.
I don't know.
So then she instantly went to, there was this song that he liked. It was almost like he was telling her it's the song.
Where it says I'm the king of the castle? Yes.
Castle.
Oh my god. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
One of my favorite pieces of evidence in this episode definitely has to be the orbs going by the REM pods when they're going off. And it's one thing for the REM pod to go off, or it's one thing to see like a orb that you think is pretty compelling. But to see the orb go across the REM pod and the REM pod go off at the same time, that's kind of two things at once, which is pretty compelling to me. And it didn't just happen one time, it happened multiple times, which is even crazier. And it was in that room where Tanya's brother Rodney's pictures and belongings were, so it was even more significant for that reason.
Earlier in the episode, the Ovulus was obviously spitting out word after word after word, and that's something that's kind of unusual. But part of the episode, when it was me, Steve, and Sage in the back room, it wasn't saying a single word, and it was probably 20-30 minutes, and it would not say anything. And that kind of validates the equipment, because a lot of people think that the Ovulus is kind of a random word generator, and if that were the case, then it would kind of spit out words more consistently rather than say a bunch of words at once and then nothing at all.
This thing has been quiet since we've been in the kitchen, which is strange, which validates it too.
Probably a year or two after the investigation, I was getting my car fixed, and I walked in. There was this older man. He was being real nice and friendly to me. And he was looking at me like he knew who I was. Then my mechanic comes out and he's like, oh, so I see you guys have met. He said, this is Mr. Powell. He said, you guys investigated my brother's house. Well, so then, you don't really know how people are going to feel about that. And I said, so what'd you think about it? And he said, oh, I loved it. He said, that was definitely my brother. That was his voice. He just wanted to know where his car was.
What was that?
Another thing that was pretty crazy about this episode was the disembodied voice that we captured. And it was one of those things where, for one, it doesn't happen very much at all, I feel like, in the paranormal field compared to some other pieces of evidence. We had never experienced anything like that. Definitely took us off guard. I mean, as soon as it happened, when Tanya was in the kitchen, we stopped. We halted everything, and you can hear me in the garage.
What was that?
Originally, we thought that it said, hey, but what it actually said was no after reviewing it.
And I'm still not scared to sit here. Fine.
Oh, yeah, it should positive feeling, you know.
Huh?
What was that? No. You sound like voice. Someone said, hey. Wait, did she not say anything?
I didn't say nothing.
Well, didn't she just say, what, huh? She said, didn't you say, huh? Did you say, huh? To someone? You said, huh?
I said it back, but I never said hello.
No, you said something.
We didn't really think about it being anything that could be seen as a negative sort of response, but it was probably just like we thought, maybe someone who just wasn't happy that we were doing the investigation, which probably happens more times than we think.
Oh, yeah, it should positive feeling, you know.
Huh?
So what's crazy about the shirt tug is that we didn't even intend to capture that. We were going to change to a new piece of equipment, and I just happened, because I wasn't filming anybody, so I just happened to be aiming the camera down at his chest because it was a close quarters room, and it was dead on, right where the tug was. To manipulate physical objects like that takes a lot of energy, and it was not only felt by Steve, but it was captured on video.
Whatever it was in that room wanted my attention, and wow, just so happens Sage had the camera right on my chest when it happened. I'm really glad that we got that on film.
That is some real paranormal activity, unlike anything at that point that we had seen before.
Okay, I think we ought to take the crystals out and maybe go back into Rodney's room. I just felt something.
Well,
could
I
you
was
have been
pointing
touching
it at your chest.
Okay, because I felt like something tugged my shirt, so
Maybe we might have got that on camera.
Yeah.
If something was.
I briefly saw a full-bodied apparition, and unfortunately we didn't get it on camera because our static camera was shooting down the hallway. The apparition was actually in the back bedroom. It was just brief, but it was a woman. She wanted me to know that something was hers. We did not want to frighten the homeowner, so we didn't tell her until, I don't know, a year or so later, when I thought maybe she could handle what I had to tell her, and she thought it was neat. It just so happens that I saw the spirit in the room that she sleeps in. I thought it was neat that the responses that we got when me and Tanya did that spirit box session, she obviously knew it was him. Now me, I've never heard his voice before, but she told me, and her daughter Chelsea told me afterwards, that was his voice. And that's how he talked, and those were the things that he said. And I think that's what really adds a lot of validation to what happened that night.
So overall, my experience on Midnight's Light Paranormal was actually really cool, and I really enjoyed the 2 episodes that I did. I had always had a belief in the paranormal. A lot of people think, that's not real. They can easily just manipulate that to look real for TV ratings. But actually doing an investigation and seeing it firsthand, that kind of helped solidify what I had already believed.
The episode went really well. It was different for us. So we had just been introduced to this. So everything that we normally looked at was all new. Okay, we didn't know what we know now. We didn't have the experiences or the knowledge that we know now.
We go from our first episode where it was very surprising to us, and we didn't think, okay, well, it's not going to be that surprising the second time around. That was just a Band-Aid getting ripped off. And now, with this second episode, it was, wow, we're kind of 2 for 2 on this. And I really liked how we helped our host out. I really felt like we gave our host a lot of opportunity to kind of tie up some loose ends and to really get comfortable with the situation.
Tanya! Oh my God!
I love you, Bobby.
I love you.
So Buckeye Jake's was like a big deal for us because it was a commercial location, there was a lot of lore already established, and it gained us a lot of recognition.
During Steve's reading, he actually picked up on a spirit that he said he felt died in an automobile accident. He thought that it was kind of a newer spirit within the last 20 years, he said.
One of the transient spirits that I was just talking about, well, actually two of them, but one of them is a fairly newer spirit. And when I say that, I mean within the past 20 years.
Okay.
He definitely passed while he was in a car accident, a car wreck.
And we didn't think too much of it at the time, but this was one of those times where after the episode came out, we heard from some local people that there might have been someone who that could have actually been. Steve had also mentioned that the person had an interesting nickname. And I'm not going to go too much into details of personal names, but apparently the person's nickname in real life was Casserole, which, you know, that's a pretty funny, cool nickname. So maybe that's what he was picking up on.
While the interview was going on, I was sitting back at another table, and we were just watching the interview. And all of a sudden, I catch something out of my right eye. And then all of a sudden, to the left side of me, I actually saw a mist start to go and start to form. And it was only there for a second, and it moved really, really quick. And it moved up near a light that was in the room. And the chandelier that I saw that mist go by was actually shaking back and forth. You know, there was something physically there that was manifesting itself, and you could see it actually moving objects.
There was a time, for a long time, that the spirits in that building were inactive. It was almost like they were sleeping, like they were dormant. And I knew, I told my teammates, I said, you know what? I know why it's so active now. Because somebody had a seance here. Somebody used a Ouija board at this location.
So before you guys came, some of the staff got together and we thought it was going to be a fun night to have a Ouija board. And we did this a couple times. I wasn't a true believer in Ouija boards. After the night I was gripping my glass where my knuckles were all white. I was pouring sweat. Erin, a friend of mine, was across from me, and it looked like her face was melting off. Like I was just in total panic. The little thing was going back and forth to ZA, which we had no idea what that meant. After looking it up, we were really scared.
They felt like there was something sinister in the basement. When I went to go through and do my reading, I knew right where it was. I could feel it through the floor. What was a little scary was I could feel it, and I knew that it could feel me, and I knew that it didn't want to interact with me. We had planned to do the investigation, and I felt like I could probably get rid of this negative entity. The couple weeks leading to the investigation, and this is really unlike me because I've been dealing with stuff like this my whole life, but I was experiencing fear. I was getting a little scared. About a week before investigation too, I drove past Buckeye Jake's real slow, and immediately I could feel that thing in the basement, and I knew that it knew I was there, and that was kind of terrifying. So the night of, honestly, I wasn't even feeling real good. I think I even went home and came back. But then it came time to go down and face what was down there. So I walked in there and I could feel it in there, and it was almost like a cornered animal. I knew that it kind of wanted to leave too. It didn't want to be trapped where it was. I mean, I'm saying it because I'm not sure what it was, if you want me to be honest. It was some type of negative energy. There were all these doors leaning up against the walls down there, really heavy, thick, like oak doors. And I knew that that carving or drawing was behind that one door that I had seen when we were there that one night. I felt like somehow that entity was attached to or because of that drawing. I felt like if I drew a cross through that drawing, that I would take away that drawing's power to hold that entity, and that that entity could be released to go away. I could barely see, but I grabbed a hold of the door, I pulled it back, and I had to look for a minute before I could see that carving in the wall. And as soon as I saw it, I said, oh, there it is. That door flipped around and smacked me right in the side of the head, hard. Oh, there it is, right there. Oh! And it surprised me. What surprised me even more was the fact that not only did it hit me, but it felt like something was behind it pushing the door on me, like wanting to push me down on the ground and crush me with that door. That was weird. Oh. Oh. And I was angry, and I think I even said in the video, I'm just trying to help. You know, why are you pushing this door on me? Why are you pushing this door? Why are you pushing the door? This is going to help you. And as soon as I drew that cross through that carving, it was gone.
When you guys came and said something about having a negative entity, it made total sense to us. But like I said, I don't think that anything is there anymore. The chalk is still on the wall. So we like to spook people a little bit, and we'll be like, you want to come see something really cool? And we'll show them the chalk on the wall and kind of tell them the story. But it's never anything spooky. I used to be really weirded out about going into that room, and not anymore.
My only regret is I had a hand cam, but I wish that I would have set up another camera in there so everybody could have seen exactly what happened to me.
I was affected more than once. And the first time, it was at that round table that we did the interviews at. And my thought on that was that that was the table that they did the seance at.
Did you guys do the Ouija board at that round table?
Yes.
I knew it.
When Steve went to go do Ovulus and I was doing EVP, when you watch that footage and when I watch that footage, it's like I'm not watching myself, because I wasn't myself in that moment. You can see it in my eyes and in my tone of voice.
We're not here to harm you.
When we wrapped up that segment and we were about to go downstairs, we were passing through that doorway at the top of the stairs, and I felt a cold wind fly right up behind me and shoot through my back and out my front. It was as if, in that moment, I was feeling every emotion, every sensation that spirit felt in their entire existence, all at once. And it was so overpowering that, one, I almost burst into tears.
I'm getting emotional, and I just got really bad cold chills.
And I couldn't breathe. And that was the first time I'd ever been so severely affected by a spirit before, and that's an experience that I'll never forget.
I thought that we had a very interactive conversation via spirit box a couple times, like between the getting corrected by a spirit on the spirit box, and also asking it to repeat itself and it doing that with the Bob response. I thought that was something that was pretty cool.
Okay, I can barely hear you. What's your name? You said the same thing twice. Is it Bob?
It's a piece of evidence that we got where we were in the basement with the spirit box. We asked how many spirits there were. And at first I thought that it said 5. And I said that out loud, and Steve agreed. And then it said no, 9. And when we reviewed the footage, it did say 9 the first time.
How many are here? 5?
I heard that. That's what I was about to say. It was 5. He said, and then it said no, 9. Yeah.
Wow.
So it was pretty quiet for a while after you guys were there. After Sean and I bought the business, I made sure that I told Helen hello and goodbye every day, every night, and made sure that she knew we were a team, we were going to do this together, so we respect each other. So I think that's why I didn't have a whole lot of problems. The past few weeks, month and a half, there's been a lot of stuff going on, just talking, wine glasses flying off racks, glasses moving across the bar, I'd say majority of it's talking, whispering, doors opening, knocking on the doors. There's been multiple times where we thought people were walking in, but the doors are all locked. So it's been more active, and I don't know why.
You can feel it when you watch the episode that it was a big energy, and it was a big location. So I'm extremely happy with the way that it turned out. It's like night and day when we look back on the quality of our episodes back then in season 1 to now, because we didn't have great cameras and we didn't have all this expensive equipment.
You know, we've made advances, we've added equipment, our knowledge of how to use it has changed.
Our level of professionalism and how comfortable we are on camera is a lot, easier to tell on these newer ones compared to our old ones.
I remember our first couple investigations, some of our team members were pretty scared and pretty shocked at some of the things that happened. And now it's funny, a cabinet can burst open or a door can fly open, and we just keep rolling. And it's funny to see the evolution.
It's a nice piece of history looking back on it now to see how far we've come, because we have come so far.
For the latest news on Midnight's Light Paranormal, like us on our Facebook page, follow us on Twitter, and follow us on Instagram. All of these links can be accessed under the About tab on our YouTube channel.